Looting, also referred to as sacking, plundering, despoiling, despoliation, and pillaging, is the indiscriminate taking of goods by force as part of a military or political victory, or during a catastrophe, such as war, natural disaster, or rioting. The term is also used in a broader sense to describe egregious instances of theft and embezzlement, such as the plundering of private or public assets by corrupt or greedy authorities. Looting is loosely distinguished from scavenging in terms of objects taken. Scavenging implies taking of essential items such as food, water, shelter, or other material needed for survival, while looting implies items of luxury or not necessary for survival such as artwork, precious metals or other valuables. The proceeds of all these activities can be described as loot, plunder, spoils, or pillage. Looting by type, war looting. Looting by a victorious army during war has been common practice throughout recorded history. For foot soldiers, it was viewed as a way to supplement their often meager income and was part of the celebration of victory. On higher levels, the proud exhibition of loot was an integral part of the typical Roman triumph, and Genghis Khan was not unusual in proclaiming that the greatest happiness was to vanquish your enemies, to rob them of their wealth. In warfare in ancient times, the spoils of war included the defeated populations, which were often enslaved, and the women and children, who were often absorbed into the victorious country's population. In other pre-modern societies, objects made of precious metals were the preferred target of war looting, largely because of their easy portability. In many cases, looting was an opportunity to obtain treasures that otherwise would not have been obtainable. Since the 18th century, works of art have increasingly become a popular target. In the 1930s and even more so during World War II, Nazi Germany engaged in large-scale and organized looting of art and property. Looting, combined with poor military discipline, has occasionally been an army's downfall. In other cases, for example the Wahhabi sack of Karbala, loot has financed further victories. Not all looters in wartime are conquerors. The looting of Vistula land by its retreating defenders in 1915 was among the factors sapping the loyalty of Poland in World War I. Local civilians can also take advantage of a breakdown of authority to loot public and private property, such as took place at the National Museum of Iraq in the course of the Iraq War in 2003. The novel War and Peace describes widespread looting by Moscow's citizens before Napoleon's troops enter the town, and looting by French troops elsewhere. War spoils in Arabia during Muhammad's era. The Islamic prophet Muhammad led many military campaigns to capture war booty spoils. One of the earliest examples was in the year 623 known as the Allah's Caravan Raid. According to Ar-Rahiq al-Maktoum, a modern Islamic hagiography of Muhammad written by the Indian Muslim author Safiya Rahman Mubarakpuri, Muhammad ordered the first caravan raid led by Hamza ibn Abd al-Muttalib 7 to 9 months after the Hijra. A party of 30 to 40 men assembled at the seacoast near Al-Iz, between Mecca and Medina, where Amr ibn Hisham, the leader of the caravan, was camping with 300 Meccan riders. It is mentioned in Ibn Hisham and Ibn Ishaq's biography of Muhammad, that for these caravan raids Muhammad gave permission to plunder the caravans of their enemies and seize their goods and property, and said, "Go forth against this caravan. It may be that Allah will grant you plunder." Ibn Ishaq and Ibn Hisham's Sirat Rasul Allah, pages 95, translation by Folio Society. Another significant expedition he ordered was the Battle of Badr in March 624. According to the Muslim scholar Safiya Rahman Mubarakpuri, the purpose was to raid a Quraysh caravan carrying 50,000 gold dinars guarded by 40 men, and to further the Muslim political, economic and military position. The Muslim scholar Ibn Kathir also said the purpose of this battle was to capture Quraysh war booty spoils and make Islam dominant by raiding the Quraysh caravan. He claimed Muhammad encouraged the Muslims by saying, "This is the caravan of Quraysh carrying their property, so march forth to intercept it, Allah might make it as war spoils for you." Archaeological removals. Looting can also refer to antiquities formerly removed from countries by outsiders, such as some of the contents of Egyptian tombs which were transported to museums in Europe. Other examples include the obelisks of Pharaoh Amenhotep II, in the Pharaoh Ptolemy IX. Recent controversies include the major part of the architectural sculptures adorning the Parthenon, often called the Elgin Marbles, removed by Lord Elgin, later sold to the British Museum, and claimed by Greece that they should be returned. Looting of industry. In the aftermath of the Second World War, Soviet forces systematically plundered the Soviet occupation zone of Germany, including the recovered territories which were to be transferred to Poland. They sent valuable industrial equipment, infrastructure and whole factories to the Soviet Union. Measures against looting. During a disaster, police and military authorities are sometimes unable to prevent looting when they are overwhelmed by humanitarian or combat concerns, or cannot be summoned due to damaged communications infrastructure. Especially during natural disasters, some people find themselves forced to take what is not theirs in order to survive. How to respond to this is often a dilemma for the authorities. In other cases, looting may be tolerated or even encouraged by authorities for political or other reasons. The Fourth Geneva Convention of 1949 explicitly prohibits the looting of civilian property during wartime. The Hague Conventions of 1899 and 1907 obliges military forces not only to avoid destruction of enemy property, but to provide protection to it. Theoretically, to prevent such looting, unclaimed property is moved to the custody of the custodian of enemy property, to be handled until the return to its owner. Examples of looting, by conquerors. Following the death of Valentinian III in 455, the Vandals invaded and extensively looted the city of Rome. Mahmud of Ghazni repeatedly plundered the temple cities of Somnath, Mathura, Kannauj etc. of India between 1000 AD and 1027 AD. After the siege of Constantinople in 1204, the Crusaders looted the city and transferred its riches to Italy. Roman Catholic troops of Imperial Field Marshal Johann Tsiklis, Count of Tilly, committed the sack of Magdeburg in 1631. Magdeburg's civilian population was quickly reduced from 30,000 to 5,000, giving rise to a new term in German for annihilation by atrocities. In 1664 the Maratha leader Shivaji sacked and looted Surat. Between 1804 and 1814 Napoleon Bonaparte engaged in massive looting throughout Europe and Africa. In 1860, European Allied forces burned and looted the Yuan-Ming Yuan in Beijing, and in 1900, the European Eight-Nation Alliance looted Beijing when they invaded China to put down the Boxer Uprising. During World War II, both Nazi Germany and the Empire of Japan engaged in massive and systematic looting of valuables worth tens of billions of dollars. The Soviet Army also operated official trophy brigades to loot valuable artworks from Germany in retaliation. C. Nazi plunder, Yamashita's gold, Bolding collection. By others, in 1863, anti-draft riots in New York City resulted in 4 days of arson, looting and violence against the city's free black population. In 1939 through 1941, during the bombing of British cities by the German Luftwaffe, several incidents of bomb-damaged buildings being looted by gangs of children, firemen, and the general public were reported. In 1977 the New York blackout resulted in massive rioting and looting throughout the city of New York. In 1989 during the U.S. invasion of Panama, there was massive systematic looting in Panama City. In 1992, during the Rodney King riots, widespread looting occurred in Los Angeles, California. After the United States occupied Iraq, the absence of Iraqi police and the reluctance of the U.S. to act as a police force enabled looters to raid homes and businesses, especially in Baghdad, most notably the Iraqi National Museum. During the looting, many hospitals were stripped of nearly all supplies. However, upon investigation many of the looting claims were in fact exaggerated. Most notably the Iraqi National Museum, in which many curators had stored important artifacts in the vaults of Iraq's central bank. In 2005 in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina there was extensive looting, with police being accused of joining in some cases. In 2010 after the Haiti earthquake, slow distribution of the relief aid and a large number of affected people created concerns of civil unrest, marked by looting and mob justice against suspected looters. During the 2011 London riots, gangs of youths undertook looting in a number of areas across the capital. It has been suggested that rioting may have been organised, but it is unclear by whom, and to what end. London had previously been subjected to looting following the Brixton riot of 1981, and by gangs of youths who took advantage of war damage during the Second World War. The 2011 London looting was copied on subsequent nights in other cities around England, including Manchester, Liverpool and Birmingham. In 2014 in Ferguson, Missouri, after the killing of unarmed teenager Michael Brown, a small amount of protesters began looting after the release of controversial information nearly a week after Brown's death. See also, conflict minerals, looted art, prize of war, references. Sources: Stewart, James, Corporate War Crimes, Prosecuting Pillage of Natural Resources, 2010 http, Papers SSRN Compapers CFM. Abstracted equals 1,875,053, Abudu, Margaret, A.L., Black Ghetto Violence, a case study inquiry into the spatial pattern of 4 Los Angeles riot event types, 44 social problems 483, Kervine, Robert and Bruce Porter, Blackout Looting, Dines, Russell and Enrico L. Quarantelli, What Looting and Civil Disturbances Really Means, in Modern Criminals 177 Green, Stewart P., Looting, Law, and Lawlessness, 81 Tulane Law Review 1129, McGinty, Looting in the Context of Violent Conflict, A Conceptualization and Typology, 25 Third World. Quarterly 857.